but please, differently abled. They wanna watch me try pour the shit out of my stomach bag, or better still, watch my mate done trying to change a fucking tampon. It's like a scene from Saw they had to cut 'cause it was too fucking gruesome. Yeah, it's a step up from the good old days when they used the term invalid and made you feel like an out-of-date fucking bus pass. Great for your self-esteem, that. For example, instead of saying my name is Mike, I have multiple disabilities, I shit in a bag and I love surfing and reggae, I say my name is Mike, I love surfing, reggae and fisting, and by the way, I also have multiple disabilities and I shit in a bag. The fact is we've all got our crosses to bear. I mean, statistically 1 in 10 of you have entertained the idea of bestiality. Yeah, you know who you are. Hey, I don't judge, so long as it's consensual it's fine by me. 1 moo, wink or nay for yes, 2 for no. That's nothing. 1 in 7 of you have actually had a wank over an elderly neighbor. Men and women apparently, what can I say? And 1 in 5 of you blokes have masturbated into your own feces after taking a shit. Pure class that. That's what the research says. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't worry about it. Like I said, no one's gonna judge you, so long as you wash your hands afterwards. Take it from me, the meaning of life to a disabled person takes on an entire new angle when you are told that your whole existence is actually a fucking punishment for the sins you committed in a former life. Now, I'm all for retribution and punishment, but I don't even remember the crimes I must have committed in my former life. I might be able to accept my punishment better if I knew what the fuck I had done, and more to the point, if I could remember the enjoyment I got out of it. Of course, some sins are for pleasure and others are out of just being a bad bastard, but if mine were for pleasure, I wanna remember the fucking things. I might have been a fuckicidal stud in old Victorian London, shagging anything that moved, or maybe I was Cleopatra's gynecologist. Who fucking knows? The least the fucker can do if he's gonna punish you for shit you did in a previous life is let you remember it. Now here's a thought. I bet the cunt has a list, like sentencing guidelines, with different tariffs depending on the sins you committed. Let's presume he uses the 10 Commandments as a basis for sin and go from there, shall we? Maybe he thought that the original punishments of genocidal destruction were a little over the top. Let's be honest, he's not a cruel god. He wouldn't kill babies in apparent natural disasters. That would be fucking harsh. He prefers to give them lifelong disabilities, or maybe give them a disease that's gonna kill them within a few days so that he can't be held responsible for their deaths. If we can't cure them, it's our fault and he is entirely blameless. The slimy bastard. So, these commandments, let's take a look. No other gods. No false idols. No taking his goddamn name in vain. For Christ's sake. What do you know? The first three are all about him, the shameless fucking self-promoter, but he reckons they're the worst. Judge, jury and executioner, a bit arrogant that. Who the fuck does he think he is? Anyway, punishments for this shit would be pretty serious stuff, straight from birth, just to make your life as miserable and shitty as possible. Brittle bone syndrome, maybe, leukemia, AIDS, that sort of thing. The real nasty shit, to teach you a fucking lesson. Then we move on to the middle ground of forgetting Sunday and telling your parents that you hate them. Apparently these are worse than fucking murder and adultery, so we're looking at mid-range vengeance like severe autism, maybe, and learning difficulties, a bit of blindness and deafness, that sort of thing, a bit of Down syndrome perhaps, or Asperger's. The low-level shit comes last, the stuff relegated to the second half of the Ten Commandments, like the Blue Square League of Sin. So, murder, adultery, nicking, lying and being jealous of shit, all seen as equally bad apparently. So taking someone's life is seen as no different to taking someone's mobile phone. Fucking idiot. Anyway, murderer or thief, your reward could be a cleft palate, maybe, mild autism perhaps, dyslexia, dyspraxia, or maybe just being an ugly bastard. And here's the big question, the HIV/AIDS question. Is it me, or is it a coincidence that so many bad souls have come back to life as African babies? That said, it's unlikely to be me, cause you don't need psychological profiling to work out that I'd be a shit fucking murderer. Come to think of it, I'm struggling to recall any physically disabled serial killers. Granted, apparently Hitler only had one Pollock, and then there's Davros, leader of the Daleks. But bar war propaganda and fictional mutants, we are pretty fucking righteous. It's you able-bodied fuckers with your working arms and legs to help you dispose of the corpse and flee the crime scene that we should be worried about. Jack the Ripper would have been fucked if he'd have been in a wheelchair. For a start off, I can tell you from experience that smashing a whore's brains in would have been a fucking nightmare unless he could have got them on their knees and preoccupied them with a mouthful of cock. So, back to the list. To be honest, looking at it, I reckon I'm on pretty firm ground, cause as I am an atheist, the first three about the man himself don't count, and on all of the others I'm pretty clean. Ah fuck, I do covet people with fully functioning spinal cords and working bowels. Damn, nearly perfect. The only problem was that my owl is a lazy bastard and my stoma bag took a right fucking hammering that week. Late one evening we were taking in the lights and the fucker nearly split wide open, and I don't think the Irish Sea has recovered yet from my owl's week-long assault on it. Anyway, where the fuck was I? Oh yes, where does it leave us if we accept that disabled people are being punished for the sins they committed in former lives? The logical conclusion is that disabled people are essentially the souls of evil entities based on the belief that the human body is purely a temporary vessel for the soul, which is itself eternal. Just stop for a minute and think about this. If there is any truth in this bullshit, it doesn't take a huge leap to conclude that half the evil fuckers who have ever lived are living in Britain today claiming disability fucking living allowance. You've got Pol Pot having a stair lift fitted in a sheltered housing complex on the outskirts of Barnsley, and then there's Joseph Stalin popping to Southampton Central Community Centre to the bingo in his mobility scooter. Merthyr fucking Tydfil must be a fucking mecca of evil, with it being the disability benefit capital of Britain. I bet you can't move for evil bastards. So remember, if you're ever there and you're thinking about quickly nipping into a disabled parking bay, you'd better think again. You just might happen to piss off the soul of Margaret Thatcher, or maybe Vlad the fucking Impaler, who might just pay you a friendly visit in the dead of the night. Come to think about it, maybe we should rename the Paralympics the Evil Olympics. And talking about the Olympics, surely the ultimate aim is for able-bodied and disabled people to compete against each other. It's not beyond the wit of man, surely, to find a way of leveling the playing field. I say level the playing field. You can't exactly soup us up, and you certainly can't dope test us, 'cause we've got more drugs in us than Lance Armstrong's remaining bollock. So you have to give the able-bodied a temporary disability. I'm thinking of that thing about sitting on your hand to make it go numb before having a wank, so it feels like someone else is doing it. Do that, then stamp on their fucking toes with construction boots on before squirting them in the eyes with lemon juice and strapping a plastic bag full of the contents of the average unflushed public toilet. Then see how far they can throw the fucking javelin. Or maybe blindfold use and bolt and see how fast the fucker can run. Or my favorite, give the gymnastics team 27 shots of tequila each and watch them try stay on the fucking balance beam. It's interesting to note that Esther McVey, the Minister for Disabled People on the government face of the Work Capability Assessment, has done the vagina monologues on stage, which is appropriate considering what a cunt she is. In principle, it's a great idea to look at what work people can do, not just what they can't do. But the way it's being implemented is just fucked up. It's great that at last we have recognized that everyone has value, and the trick is identifying that value. But it's getting to the point where they are taking the fucking piss. It's only a matter of time before some smart fucker at the top, the people who carry out these fucking assessments, hears the penny drop and has the right idea that there is definitely value in running a freak show at the fair. You could make a fucking mint watching my diabetic mate Dave try to use his insulin pen when he's on the brink of an epileptic seizure. You could take bets on whether he was gonna hit his thigh as intended or veer off and stab a bollock, or maybe even his dick. Such excitement for everyone. When you're on the receiving end of prejudice and abuse of any kind, you start to spot subtle differences in people's behavior. And whilst my opinion of younger people who think it's okay to abuse anyone because of their sexuality, skin color, disability, you name it, is that they are anal fucking polyps on the rectum of life. Older people who hold prejudicial views are a whole different and complex proposition. I did touch on the good old days earlier when I mentioned the word invalid, so here's a suggestion, a little tip for the next time you hear an older person respond to a story about broken fucking Britain with the words, "Oh, aren't things getting bad? It wasn't like this in my day." Remind the fuckers that the Spastic Society had to change its name in 1994 to scope because the term spastic had been so fucking misused as an insult that parents with disabled children felt that asking them for help might stigmatize their children, so they just struggled on alone. Or how about going further back to the 70s, when it was perfectly acceptable to describe anyone of African origin as a nigger? When corner shops were known as pocky shops. Oriental takeaways were known as chinkies, and homosexuals were openly called toughs. Maybe go a bit further back and remind them that being a tough was illegal until the 60s, and maybe trawl even further back into history and ask them if they know why. I doubt very much that they'll have a fucking clue about Henry VIII pushing through the Buggery Act in 1533. Oh, and this, aren't things getting bad, bullshit. They really do live in their own fucking dream world. I mean, why let the facts get in the way of a good fucking panic and a chance to slag off the younger generation? But the stats speak for themselves. Crime has been falling steadily for years, but there's a sometimes willing disconnect between the facts about crime and the perception of crime. And here's where we get the double fucking whammy. These people were brought up in a time of deference, a time where you obeyed authority without question and believed every fucking word you read in the newspaper or on the TV. And where does this modern perception of broken Britain come from? Point made, I think. But don't expect them to accept that their warped perception might be wrong. That would mean them stepping out of their blind fucking fantasy comfort zone, where they get some twisted sense of security from feeling threatened, but being able to seek solace in thoughts of a time past, a time of safety and security for them, but where if you were different in any way you were the target of relentless fucking abuse. Maybe just leave them to it. They'll die off soon anyway, like dinosaurs tend to. Anyone watching or listening who has kids can tell you what a fucking nightmare they are in the first few years. I nearly put mine out with the bins at least half a dozen times just for a bit of peace and fucking quiet. Yeah, I know, shocking, hey. Me having kids. Just think, someone was sick enough to fuck this. Twice. I say twice. One thing you need to know is that there are some perks to living a life of constant pain controlled by heavy-duty painkillers. Your pain threshold actually goes through the fucking roof. Let's just say that Anal Friday in our house isn't when we arrange all the tins in the cupboards in alphabetical order. It's more of a rake for the wife, where she tools up with a strap on and fucks me for a change. It was always gonna be tricky finding the right balance of material for these gigs 'cause you never know how far to go, but as you've probably worked out by now, I just thought, fuck it. This is about being able to laugh at ourselves and acknowledging and celebrating our uniqueness. I know my material might be controversial to some and I might not have room to talk, but trying to shock audiences by writing about rape, child abuse and cancer is cheap and easy, and I have always taken the stance that people in general go to comedy gigs to escape their problems, if only for a while, to have a laugh, not to be reminded of dark episodes in their lives. I could easily come up with an anecdote about a ginger-haired Scottish comic whose son died 'cause he was too busy arse-raping his doctor to take him for his chemotherapy session. All three in one sentence there. Piss easy, but I won't go there. So to anyone who does take the cheap and easy option, come and have a go if you think you're fucking hard enough. I'm not the only person in our clan with a disability, and between us we had more metal than a goth with a piercing obsession. What fun we had going through security. The metal detectors were going fucking apeshit. It was when my stoma bag suddenly filled to the point of rupture that the security guards seemed to finally lose the will to live and let us through. There is a serious point to be made here though. You could sense a certain unease amongst the security guards, an uncertainty as to just how politically correct they should be. So if any would-be terrorists are watching or listening to this, just get yourself a wheelchair and a stoma bag full of shit and you're laughing. You'll be balls deep in virgins in no time. We did get into a bit of trouble over in Florida though, the language barrier and all that. I thought my voice synthesizer would make it easier for them to understand me, as for some fucking reason I now have a Seattle accent, but it doesn't account for slang, still does it? Back then I smoked and I was dying for a ciggy, so, like you do, I turned to my brother and said the fateful words, I could murder a fag. I could murder a fag, that's all I said. Now, we just happened to be in earshot of a mounted police officer who jumped down off this huge fucking horse and asked me to repeat what I had just said. Before I had finished pronouncing the G in fag, he was all over me like a fucking rash, and I ended up spending a night in the cells for a homophobic hate crime. I wouldn't mind, but it only took my brief 2 minutes the next day to Google a bit of British slang and I was released without charge. The dumb fucking morons. I was sitting in a bar one night, trying to explain the British class system to a few of the locals, but it was like trying to teach the Queen how to give blowjobs. A bit of a fucking mouthful. I tried to explain how Cameron had been brought up with privilege and comfort due to his dad's nasty little tax avoidance schemes, how he probably swam around in his mother's womb complaining about the damp living conditions. Come to think about it, Gestation was probably a difficult time in Cameron's life, struggling to cope with the ignominy and the social stigma of only living in a one-room apartment. It was an affront to his dignity, his human rights, dare I say, to expect someone of his standing to live in what amounted to all facilities in the one single room. It didn't even have a separate toilet, and he spent most of his time dodging his own fucking micro-turds. He had royal blood in him, for fuck's sake. Damp, smelly exits have their place. They are ideal for certain people who enjoy the challenge of brushing their teeth in the same water that they have just pissed in, negotiating the floaters as they rinse and spit. He was sure that some people would be delighted to be offered such accommodation, especially as it came rent-free. Surely they should be grateful for anything they got, considering they didn't work for it. And so was the seed of his political future soon. Difficult one to explain to Americans, that one. I got my own back for the speech impediment thing though, karma or something. My brother is one good-looking bastard, and he was chatting up this typical blonde Barbie doll in this bar. She fucking loved herself, so he turns to her with his deep blue eyes and whispers softly in her ear, "I bet you know how to satisfy a man who has special needs." She looks at him and replies seductively, "Sure do, honey." "Good," he says, "'cause my brother is in the loo and needs someone to help him empty his stoma bag." Work the treat. The plastic bitch soon pissed off after that. Gone are the days when people would say that at least there are some perks to being disabled, like getting to park close to shops, and they weren't taking the piss, they were serious. To be honest, these are probably the same people who think Asians should thank town planners for building street corners so they're best ignored anyway. It does have to be said that able-bodied people can do some stupid fucking things though. I nearly pissed myself in Asda the other day watching this woman using one of those self-service express checkouts. She was trying to put the fiver in the credit card swipe thing at the side. It was fucking priceless. I'm like anybody else, those fucking things are supposed to make the checkout experience quicker, but they're a fucking nightmare. My partially sighted mate Tony, with cerebral palsy and a prosthetic leg, could do it faster. And he's got no arms. I know the subject of bowel movements and bladder function turn a lot of people's stomachs, but one thing we should all remember is that even the beautiful people shit and piss, and even the most airbrushed starlet bleeds. I know some of you sick bastards probably find the thought sexy, but for us non-deviants it sort of levels the playing field a bit. I guarantee you that Cheryl Cole's period farts smell just as bad as my mom's. Well, you'll be relieved to know that the robot freak in the wheelchair has nearly finished. Just one more pop at that bearded old motherfucker who lives in the clouds, and I'm done. God's like an evil fucking quizmaster, and here's my thinking. We've managed to fuck up plenty of diseases that choose to fuck us up bad, but there are still plenty that take us out by 1,000 every year. The motherfucker has given us a clue that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, but as far as deadly diseases go, we've got to work it out for ourselves, and in the meantime our children are gonna keep dying, so come on, chop, chop. He makes the anchor on Deal or No Deal look like Mary fucking Poppins. The idea that God is capable of intelligent design is just bullshit. I reckon the fucker's just got the sixth sense of humor. Heaven is his way of saying sorry for the fuck up he made of this place. We spend billions searching for cures for diseases, cures that are there, but that the fucker hides so we can't find them. He must get some sick fucking kick from watching us search like a life and death fucking treasure hunt. And why the fuck has he stopped doing miracles? They seem to have dried up lately. Why the fuck change water to fucking wine just to stop someone's embarrassment but not save the Jews from the fucking Holocaust? And the fact that the Holocaust wasn't his fault, it was mankind on mankind don't wash, cause it was a member of mankind who was too tight to buy enough fucking wine in the first place. Well, that's me. Thanks for coming, and please do take a look at my daily vlog. You can be sure of the same consistent standard of filth and enraged ramblings as you have found here. Just goes to show there are still some things in life you can rely on. Good night.